to another episode of the Tommy Williams Show. Today we have a good one for you, as always. We have a fellow by the name of Kai, and Kai actually is in Brooklyn, and he's going to be speaking with us about how the pandemic, and in particular how COVID has affected him over this course of time. Now, we've had people in the past talking about COVID and how their relationship with COVID, or the people that they're close to, or the people that they know, or their communities, schools, and more have been affected by this pandemic. But today we have yet another approach to analyzing and looking at this situation by the eyes of a Brooklynite. Kai is in Brooklyn, New York, as I said, and he's going to be sharing with us his experience with this pandemic. Without further ado, we have Kai joining us now. Welcome aboard, Kai. Welcome to the Tommy Williams.
Hey, Tommy. Good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. So, Kai, you're there in Brooklyn, New York, BK.
Yes, indeed. The most celibate borough.
Okay, all right, okay. So listen, so I've had people on. I'll tell you something, which brings to mind. I had a person come on some time ago, and he was a sanitation worker in Manhattan. I know because we've spoken about different trades that you've had, about the sanitation and how that works. But you were with, I believe you were with the private industry at one time,
yes,
right? You were
yes,
private?
I was.
Were you working there through the pandemic?
Well, what happened was I was working there when the pandemic first started, but it got to the point where at first we were doing anywhere from 35 to 37 tons of trash a night, and it got to the point where we were only doing between 5 and 7 tons, and that really wasn't the amount of work in which we used to, so they had to do a lot of layoffs. So they laid a lot of people off. I was one of them. So after that, I went and I started working for another company, and the company I'm currently working for now, which I'm delivering produce, still driving trucks though.
Okay, all right, fantastic, and thanks for that segue. So we know what you were doing at that point, and then they were having layoffs, and that sounds like it was pandemically related. It was due to the pandemic and things going on. That's why they had the RIF, the reduction in force.
What happened was we had a lot of private sector dealing with restaurants and things of that nature, and a lot of those restaurants were closed because they couldn't operate.
Gotcha.
So when that happened to them, it was more like a trail effect in which it trickled down to us.
Gotcha. All right.
And that, so if they're not open, they don't have the need for a collection of trash. They don't have none.
Yeah. So I get it. So then they had to go ahead and they had to reduce their force. So right. And folks, you know, if you don't know about the RIF, the RIF is reduction in force, and it seems like Kai had fell victim to the pandemic due to the closing of restaurants and the closing of different privatized businesses, and then so therefore his job was eliminated, or his position with the company. So now he's with another company. He's delivering produce, and congratulations on that. Sounds like a good, cleaner operation, if you will. It sounds like it's a lot cleaner. So, you know, and in this pandemic, from what I've discussed with the past guest that came on, he was always concerned because he got jabbed with a syringe.
Oh,
popped out of one of those mysterious black bags. Fortunately, right. It was actually a syringe of a person who I forgot what they might have had, but they get tested. So when something like that happens, you get tested right away, and thank goodness it was nothing detrimental. So he moved through that, and he actually retired. So that was much success to that fella. And I also know he's a viewer, so he's probably saying, please get it right. So I had to put my brakes on when it came down to me trying to guess what he had, and I was trying to actually remember why I was saying that. But you know what, moving on. So you're in Brooklyn, and the pandemic, it has no prejudice. It's all around. It's across the waters. We're actually having guests come on for the next show across the water. So we have somebody potentially coming from either England. I have somebody knocking at the door, and also Australia. So we're going to be able to compare and see what's going on because everybody's affected. But Kai, what's going on in your community of Brooklyn with the pandemic?
In all actuality, I have a brother-in-law that has COVID right now. He's held up in a hotel and hoping and praying that the rest of the family wasn't affected. And my brother, his whole family has COVID. All right, and they're recovering, trying to recover from it now. So it's affected us as a family really deeply. And I've had more individuals also that came down with it, and they was successfully have come out of it. But for the most part, it's been really hard. You know, my father-in-law, my sister's father-in-law passed from it. He passed from it, and they couldn't go see him in the hospital. The funeral was very limited. I think it was limited to 10 people that could only be in the funeral parlor, and the rest of it was on Zoom or whatever. That's just how it's been.
How it goes. And it's sad with that situation with those. And I'm hearing that very frequently, is that, you know, when a parent or a family member or a friend goes hospitalized, you can't do the conventional visit. No. Let alone take a flower up or a card or anything like that. You don't know if it's going to get to them or not. There's a lot of restrictions going on right now in the hospitals. So, you know, let me ask you something personal. Had you had COVID or in your household? Has it hit your household?
No, not at all. I've been tested twice so far, and thank God I've been avoiding it like the plague.
You know, you're our first guest that has not encountered COVID. So congratulations on that. And you know what, I'd like to try to, and you know, I'd like to give you I'd like to have you give us a takeaway, because, you know, personally speaking, I've had it. It's hit my household. It's hit the guests that I've had on here. It's hit their household, you know, and so I'd like to find out a good takeaway for the people. Not that we're just starting up, but I want you to be able to at least drop some science on them as to what they can do to help them, because you've been unscathed, and Brooklyn and New York is a very, very densely populated area. So it's a miracle, and it's fantastic that you haven't had the COVID yet.
Well, what I do is my wife, she makes masks, and what I do is I take the masks that she makes, and I wear them, and I continuously wash my hands. I keep hand sanitizer, Lysol in my vehicle, and in the truck, wherever I'm at. I make sure I have hand sanitizer and disinfectant with me. So whenever I leave the truck, when I come back in, I hit hand sanitizer. All right. I keep my mask on when I'm outside of the vehicle. This way, and let me rephrase that, because a lot of times when you're moving heavy stuff, you have to be able to breathe. So I may take the mask down for those purposes, but if someone comes near me, I put it back up. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if someone sneezes or coughing, I don't care what's happening. I'm getting out of Dodge.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I have no second guessing that you are truly vigilant on your being careful for yourself and also for your wife, man, because that's what it all boils down to, man. And I know we've had conversations in the past, and I used to laugh about it and say, wow, you know, this brother is really serious about, you know, his steps that he takes to be safe.
That's right.
But you know what? It makes sense. Yeah. And I look at that, and you know, it's not funny. It's sad. And I guess in times like this, we need to find humor in things, but we need to understand and learn certain things. So I had it before. I don't want it again. The pain, the discomfort that I had, you know, and I've shared with you, because Kai is one of my friends, and I've known Kai for over 20 plus years. And I'll tell you, the health is most important. We could laugh about so many things, but this has turned into something that's really not that comical at all. Because we've known and we know people, similar people who've passed and have gotten sick through COVID. Kai, I commend you on the way you're commanding your health and your life. And I think that personally speaking, I have hand sanitizer in the car. Lifting heavy things, you're absolutely right. When I exercise, I'm gonna start analyzing what I'm doing during the course of the day, because there are times that I breathe a little heavier, I'm working my lungs a little bit more, and then I say, let me shag back and take the mask down. But you know what? I need to make sure, either stand back, I need to tell that to people, or I need to remove myself from the environment to keep myself, make sure I'm at least 6 feet away. And you know what? Because the last guest we had on, his name was Dr. Joff. And Dr. Joffrey had shared with us, the fact of, when you sneeze or cough, that 6 feet it now could turn into 12 or 20 feet. Because
that's right.
You know what? It's going through the propulsion of force behind your body. So when I cough or sneeze, that force coming behind that could now be like, okay, now you got to stand back 20 feet. So we need to keep that in mind.
And individuals don't take it seriously, but you also have to think about the projection of the wind and air and all of that. So when someone sneezes or coughing, I stop breathing and I get out of Dodge. I don't want nothing. I don't care if it's a cold. I don't want it. Yeah,
that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kai. Well, talk about the mask now. I wish I had one of Alice's masks. She makes some super dynamite masks. Maybe go get a couple.
Yes, we have masks. We have plenty.
You want to hold a couple up? Hold a couple samples up, Kai. Thank you very much. And for folks that are viewing this show, I'm sorry, Kai. For folks that are viewing this show, whether it's the first time, second time, now we're on episode 7. We're getting ready for. This is episode 7. So 7 is going to be roll 7. What's that? The lucky number, right? So we're on 7. So it's time to pause, and it's time for us to remind people, when you're asked or invited to come on to the show, first of all, it's not a formal situation. You see, I'm dressed down. It's not about dressing up, scaring people off with some statistics and some numbers. It's just people having a conversation about what's really out there, putting us at risk. That's what it is, folks. You get people from all shapes, sizes, and colors, and we're all going through it. So if you're invited, or when I put on the link later on, because I'm going to do something super fantastic, I'm also going to share my email to the viewers. And what I want to see is, I want to see people who have some interesting things, some stories, or even if you're just a general and view your life as regular, and I just wear a mask, that's something we need to hear. Or I've never had COVID. That's something we need to hear. Because as you hear, I might say that Kai is one of my top guests right now that I've had, because he's a champion. He's a true champion of what we need to do as victims of COVID and this pandemic. And all he's doing is doing the right thing.
Here's a few examples of the mask. All right, I'm saying but you have to make sure. Nice. Make sure that the mask is secure enough so nothing can get through it. All right. Mm-hmm. And if it's
what I like about that, I can tell you right now what I like about that. And just like, hey, you know what? These masks are turning into like men's briefs. Yeah. I think about men's briefs. You want to have or women, or it turns into an undergarment. All right, bras, briefs, whatever. You know what? Because you want everything to fit correctly. If you don't, you're gonna have gaps in the side and think, oh, that's the one I have. Exactly. Beautiful mask. Yeah, I don't know, folks, if you can see the colors on that, but they're very vibrant. They're right on point. That's the nice kente cloth right there. Kente cloth. You have the nice mask, and you know what I like about them is that when they're lined up. Now I don't know if you can see the seam on the front, but that's normally when you get that little seam that doesn't match. Right. Those seams match perfectly, which let us know that there's a qualified seamstress behind this manufacturing plant.
Yes, it is.
And I'll also tell you something. They don't just look good, but they work. Because when I got mine and I circulated them throughout my family, I made sure, because I wasn't into I like the fashion. I told them, and they were all like, "Oh, wow, they look nice. Can you get me one?" And I said, "You know what?" I said to my parents, I said to my sisters, I said to Wendy. I said, Wendy, because a lot of people know Wendy. The Wendy Williams Show, everybody get ready for the Wendy Williams Show. Big plug right there. Wendy Williams, her show is, her movie's coming out at the end of the month on January 30th on Lifetime Movie Network. So I sent these masks all throughout the family. And the one thing I did before I sent them out, Kai, was I did the match test. And I don't know if you heard about that, but that happened early on. And that's when the CDC guidelines, they were talking about the mask, and I forgot what they were titled, the letter, and then they had a number. What
you shouldn't be able to blow the mask out. You should be able to, but wearing the mask, you should be able to blow the match out.
There you go. With a moderate to even heavy breath, I've noticed with your mask, you can't blow that mask out. Now it does move, but it does flicker, but it doesn't blow out. So it definitely passed the test, and I got those circulated out without a doubt. Everybody got them, and you know, man, Superman, I appreciate what you did. But folks, you can reach Kai. What's some information, man? And I'm going to make sure that we put that in the information before we roll this out.
Well, you can reach me at you can reach me at KIPOWELL0224@gmail.com.
Again, that was.
Did you hear me?
So, folks, again, just to let you know, it's KIPOWELL0224@gmail.com.
Okay.
So that's how you can get one of those super dynamite masks that work. All right. And Kai, if you were to, you know, okay, now tell me this. I always like to find out about school systems. What's happening there with the school systems in Brooklyn? What's happening?
Well, they're allowing some students to go to school, but for the most part, everyone's doing virtual learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but let me say this though. For some people, virtual learning is actually better because it's more one-on-one situations than it is with so many students in the classroom. For instance, my nephew, he's excelling now in school. He's getting A's and B's. And this is first year in high school. And he's doing exceptionally well. I'm very proud of him.
Very good. Well, you sounds like you're like Gary Gnu. You bring all the good news. You have all the good news, man. Really do appreciate that, you know, because there's so many things going on and there's so much negativity that comes behind this COVID. But you know what, it's good to know. So we do know, folks, we had an educator on last week as well. That's why I'm always trying to make sure that I include the different professions, livelihoods, the store owners. We had a coffee shop owner, and I'm doing a wraparound now. So I'm starting to reach back out to those people and find out how they're doing so we can go ahead and let you all know, because I know there's some people that are shop owners, they are school teachers, they have parents who are concerned about school districts and schools around the nation. So you get a chance to kind of compare and see what's going on. So Kai, I thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem, man. You know, I'm here whenever you need me.
And you know what? Thanks for being here for me. Thanks for being here for the millions and the people, the globe, because I'm telling you, we never can have enough education when it comes to this pandemic. So we have the schools that are shut down there in the city. Any mandates, like any city mandates in terms of, you know, curfews or anything going on? Is there anything that they're trying to regulate?
Well, right now they're doing certain restaurants in certain sections. They're unable to do indoor dining. But some other restaurants in certain places are. It just depends on where you're located. Sure. And as far as everything else, everything's moving, but it's not moving like it used to. Everything's slow because it's not as open as it used to be. They started doing opening up a few venues for entertainment, movie theaters, but with limited capacity, and including sports. You know,
Yes.
but they're gonna try. They have a few things that they're trying to see if it works, and if it works, they'll continue it. If it don't, they're not gonna do it. And that's by Governor Cuomo and the Mayor de Blasio. I don't know why I was thinking about this idiot.
So listen. So Kai, let me ask you this: with regard to the virus, to the vaccine, how do you feel about the vaccine? Is it something that's been entering your community? Have people gotten options? I know that you speak about your dad sometimes. You know, he's a senior at this point. Is he something, or how do you feel?
This is how I feel about the vaccine. If it works, I feel that individuals should take it. All right. Now, the thing about it working, that is still out. So far, it's been good, but we don't know how good. You understand what I'm saying? So once more research is done, that's just like the common cold. Everyone, the flu, all that. People have died from all kinds of diseases, but over the years, the care for those diseases have gotten better as it progressed. So once everyone has gotten the bugs out of the situation, hey, I have no problem with taking it. But I think that individuals that are subject to different health conditions and those that are on the front lines, I think that they should take it because they're at the most risk. The people that are at the most risk, by all means, take it. You have nothing to lose, because if you don't take it, you could lose your life.
Okay, very good. All right, man. Well, that sounds like that's a great way to go ahead and punctuate our time. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Again, you can secure one of those nice masks that Kai and his wife create by reaching them at KIPOWELL0224@gmail.com, and that will be put into the screen as well. So thank you so much, Kai, for coming on. I appreciate your coming on and sharing with us. And God bless you and your family, and take care of yourselves.
All right, you be good, man.
All the best. Okay, Jameel, why don't you start off by just letting folks know where you're located, I guess, and and also what you do.
So my name is Jameel Spencer. I'm currently located in New York City, but I live in New Jersey. I am the CEO of my own business, consulting business called Rightful Place. I have held previous roles, for the better part of the last 25 years, helping celebrities and brands monetize their intellectual property in a number of different ways. My partners and clients in the past have included Sean Jay-Z Carter, Sean Puffy Combs, Jessica Simpson, Justin Timberlake, Pharrell Williams. So I've been super blessed to have worked with the best and the brightest. Today I'm also have as a client Richelieu Dennis, who is an amazing Liberian entrepreneur who built a family business and was able to sell it not just once but twice. One time to a venture capital firm called Bain Capital, and the other time to Unilever, his sundial business. He sold it last time. He sold it Unilever for $1.6 billion. Again, like I said, I've been super blessed to have worked with some of the most amazing people in culture who have literally shaped culture. I feel like I've been in an enviable role of being able to give as much as I've gotten from those folks and call those people, still my friends to this day.
Fantastic. Super, man. Well, it sounds like you have a lot to live for, man. It sounds like, with nothing in life comes without a struggle. And I'm sure you've had your obstacles along the way. And and you know, it also creates so much of a blessing as to, you know, why you're here, and then gives your life even more of a purpose. So with that purpose comes safety, and you always want to protect. You always want to protect who you are now, and you also want to protect, you know, where you're moving. So you know, you have a family. You're a family guy, and I understand that some things have taken place during this during the pandemic, and you want to talk about that, how things have happened within your family structure.
Yeah. So I have 6 kids, 5 of which have at some point had the coronavirus. And to be 100% honest, so like my oldest son had it, and I think he kind of realized he had it in retrospect, because I think, you know, he probably had it before people knew what it was. And so you know, but he, you know, growing up and was super sick, but I don't think he knew what it was. And then, you know, over the last probably month and a half, it started off, my 2 youngest got it first. My 10-year-old and 12-year-old contracted it first. And then maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, my 14-year-old twins contracted it. Ironically, my 10-year-old is the only one who doesn't actually go to school. He's been virtual the entire time. So it was really interesting that of all people who got it first, it would be him, because he really didn't go anywhere, quite honestly. And I will say that when I say that they've all had COVID, is at least for the 4 little guys, it probably sounds more daunting than the actual experience was, quite honestly. But when you hear the words that, you know,
Yeah.
your 10-year-old son has tested positive for COVID, there's a lot of fear that
Sure.
enters me. But the symptoms were all super mild, if I'm being 100% honest. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, these are trying times, you know, and it affects people in a number of different ways. You know,
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
you know, and then when COVID first hit, we literally went nowhere. Like I was in the house. Only time I ventured outside the house was to go food shopping, and I literally had like rubber gloves on and mask, and I almost had like a hazmat suit, as close to a hazmat suit as you could have, right? And so for the first, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months, man, we didn't go in, um, and you know, it was all in the spirit of like, you know, trying to stay safe. Um, and you know, now we're in this really weird space of like people trying to return to regular life.
We know that the with regard to your children, and that's fortunate that, you know, that because there's different ends of the spectrum, just like anything else, autism or whatever have you, obesity, any type of ailments, any type of description of anything, you have your lower and higher ends or different ends. So with the spectrum, like for myself, when I had gone through COVID, I was at the higher end. So I had a shortness of breath, I had headaches, I had the losses of smell and taste, a lot of things, body aches. So, you know, you were fortunate, but it's important for people to, you know, to make sure they follow the guidelines and things of that nature. So now with regard to your business, and that's fantastic. I didn't know that you had your own business that you're doing now. That's super, Jameel. It has anything been reshaped, or did you start your business up during COVID or prior to COVID?
So I started my business prior to COVID. I started my business in the middle of 2018.
Okay.
You know, I was, you know, 50 years old, right? So starting a business at 50 years old, when you're used to working for big companies and, you know, getting paid every you know, twice a month and spending other people's money, I realized I was really good at spending other people's money, and I don't really enjoy spending my own as much, right?
Yes.
So you know, it was you know, starting a business is challenging in and of itself. And so I think that when I first started the business, you know, I was fine because I had basically, you know, stacked a bunch of money, and I was in a really good situation where that made sense. And I think right around the time of COVID is when I started to struggle, quite honestly. And so COVID coming was really a daunting task, right? It really changed the whole situation. I will say that I'm a super spiritual person. I looked at COVID as sort of the universe going through a refresh, and knowing that that was going to be painful to some degree, but it was also meant to inform some level of change in the universe, and I needed to figure out how I was supposed to change, and so I really reinvested in myself, my family. We as Black folks are really amazing at pivoting just generally. So, there was something, as a marketer, there was something opportunistic around everyone being stuck at home and trying to find a way to reach them in a way that was going to have value for a brand or content or whatever it might be. And so, quite
Yeah.
honestly, my business became more successful during COVID. Right, I got more opportunity during COVID because I was
Yes.
able to show value to my clients in a way that showed the ability to pivot, to provide value for my clients in a way that they couldn't on their own. And so yeah, it actually, I emerged, and obviously COVID is not over, right? But I stand here today, amidst COVID, I'm healthier in every way imaginable because I really was intentional around not like being mindful of the time and using it in a positive way. So
Yes.
I worked out probably more than I ever worked out before.
Yeah,
Um,
man, you look strong right there, man, Jay.
yeah, no, and I worked harder than I worked before. There was
Yes.
no office hours because I had no place to be, right? So
Yes.
I got worked from the time I got up until I went to sleep.
Mhm.
I am actually in the midst of reaping the rewards of all of the seeds that I sowed during COVID, right? And so and I feel really good about it, because one of the things I did. So I just actually did a podcast with a guy. His name is Jeff Hunter. He's sort of like a corporate coach. He coaches a bunch of CEOs. I had worked with him in one of my previous roles in corporate America. We remained friendly. He asked me to go on this podcast because again, it was a part of like the Great American Pivot, right? Everyone was producing content. Everyone was doing all these things because we found ourselves stuck in the house and no one could make new content, and there was no sports, right? So people were really struggling with things to consume, and so you saw a bunch of podcasts, like you're doing a podcast, right? You
Yes.
saw a
Yep.
bunch of
That's
people
right.
that would never have even thought about doing podcasts or not doing podcasts. And I did a
Yep.
podcast with this guy, um, and the response to it was so amazing that um, it turned into a bunch of folks like reaching out to me and being like, "Wow, man, that was really good. That was amazing." And this is an older white gentleman who was really sort of struck with empathy around what had taken place with George Floyd, right? And
Yeah.
he had really come to terms with his privilege as an older white man, and was trying to find a way to give back. And he had asked me for years, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And I always struggled to have a real answer. I never really gave it any thought. And it was the first time that I was like, you know what? Give me 48 hours and I'm going to be intentional around coming back to you with a real answer. And
Mhm.
so I called him back 48 hours later and I said to him, um, I would like for you to help me create a D&I practice, a diversity and inclusion practice that I can solicit all of your clients to help build. And he, without blinking, said, done. Right. And what that turned into was him introducing me to some super accomplished people in that space, um, and a bunch of work that I'm doing today. But the best part about it was that we created a cohort. And this
Mhm.
cohort, and so he does CEO coaching, and he also does these cohorts with entrepreneurs where they get on, once a week for 90 minutes, and you basically talk about your business and your challenges and how confusion is impacting your business, and how do you identify your your super skill as a human being, like what's your super skill, right? And it's this level of vulnerability of people just sharing, like these super accomplished people sharing. And so he had invited me to be a part of one. And I came back to him and said, okay, I want to create my own. And, ironically, it was literally just yesterday we had, it's probably like the 6th or 7th one session that we've done. And I've got amazing folks on there. I have, Caroline Wanga, who is like I call her my sister. Like she's like literally family to me. She was formerly the chief diversity and inclusion officer at Target, and she is currently the CEO of Essence Communications. I have a young brother named Marcus, who is the CEO of a huge business that he created, and he's now, he created $100 million fund to invest in Black businesses. Just an amazing consortium of folks, both Black and white, mostly Black, because very intentional around, providing that information to people of color. And the woman who convenes over it had asked me if I wanted to say a few words about the incident at the Capitol the other day. And it was interesting because very quickly I arrived at the space of being appreciative of the ecosystem that I had created, right? We are only like when you're a child, right? Your parents always told you you'll only be as successful as the people that you hang around. And as you get older, it's harder to layer on new people in your life because you don't get a lot of new friends at 50 years old, right? I have been blessed to meet some pretty amazing people the older I get, and really call on them as friends. And so, I literally said on the call yesterday, I said I am looking at my reaction to what happened at the Capitol because this is the America we live in, right? Sure. Like that thing that happened at the Capitol, that's the America we live in.
Yeah, right? and let me just interject if you don't mind. I just want to say, you're absolutely right. Being a child, you're quick to foster a lot of friendships and things like that. But when you get older, it's a little more difficult. You have a different criteria for what is a friend and things like that. And I get it. But going through COVID, do you find that you can build an association or some sort of strand that's similar or some sort of strand to really be able to like we're talking now? I had a guest on earlier today. Turns out I'm friends with it. It's a friend that I've had for a long time. But now you find things so relatable. The things that happen, I'm not going to use this as a political platform, but I will say this. We have a lot going on globally right now, and everything is pretty much stemming from pandemic. And with any type of negativity going on, we can really use a positive space. And with that, comes no tolerance or zero tolerance for chaos. And I think that we were able to kind of look, and we, the people, were able to look at what was going on there and see that that's not right. Bottom line, that's not right. It's chaos. There's enough going on, and we can build our mindset and thoughts based around just the unsafe. A lot of people weren't wearing masks and things of that nature going on that day. I do want to have people be able to see more about your podcast. Very interesting. I want you to, can you, how can people find your podcast, Jameel?
Well, it wasn't my podcast. It's actually, the podcast is from a company called Talentism. So it's Jeff Hunter's business. It was on his network. So the name of the company is Talentism. And so if you Google Talentism, I think the podcast will pop up.
Do you have any projects that that the viewers can see what's going on with yourself or try to support what you're doing?
I have a website, rightfulplace.com. It's spelled WRITE FUL place.com. So you can go on there. The reality is that I have been a marketer my entire life, but I don't probably make the effort to market myself because it's just not my natural reaction, right? I think I've always been the guy behind the scenes. So
yeah, yes, you have.
The guy behind Jay-Z, being the guy behind has had more value to me in my career. But I do think that we are living in unprecedented times, and it's no longer okay for us to keep, our superpower to ourselves. Like you got to share it with people. And I think what you alluded to in terms of like the community of realizing that chaos is not okay. If you think about COVID, right? It's not just COVID. Like this has been like the most incredible moment in history, right? You have COVID, you have this pandemic, which even now you see that there's a whole nother strain now. So even in the Capitol situation, apparently someone who just took the vaccine ended up contracting the virus because there's now a new strain of the virus, right? So you have this unprecedented pandemic, and you have the civil unrest, and I think that COVID made everyone sit still and be able to take notice of the civil unrest in a way that they never noticed before, right? Because think about it, these things have been happening forever, right?
Yes.
Never saw more white people in the streets saying Black Lives Matter than Black, right? You never saw that. I think it's because of this renewed sense of community that has been born during these troubled times, right? Everyone's sitting there watching this thing, and I remember that Monday morning after George Floyd, I was on a Zoom call very similar to this, and the CEO of the client that I was on there for, without even letting me know, asked me to talk about it. And it was the first time I was like, I don't even feel like I should be here right now. Like I should be doing something more important. And it's really interesting because I think that even we as as Black people, these things happen and we go on with our lives. Now we're affected by it. We're affected, but we have no choice. We have to go to work and put on the happy face and just keep it moving. But it became a little bit more difficult for us to do that. I think it became a little bit more difficult for everyone to do that, because I think that COVID has created a sense of community and the fact that we need each other in a way, right? There's like a collective kindness and empathy that we have to have for one another, because these times are so severe that, and it also, puts us in touch with our mortality, right? Because I said that my 4 kids had it and their symptoms were very mild, but I still think, by the way, how many times, and I have not had COVID to date, like knock on wood, I literally was just tested, 2 days ago. So I probably had like 10 tests so far, right? But I keep on thinking I have it. Like when as soon as if I feel warm, I'm like, oh my God, I have it, right? But you don't know how your body will react if you do get it, right? And so I think that the reason why you see, people like yourself doing more podcasts and people just trying to figure out how to be more intentional around how they spend their time is a direct reaction to people being coming to terms with their mortality. You hear these crazy stories that this super healthy guy passed away all of a sudden, right? I told you about Rich Dennis, who was one of my clients, but also one of my really dear friends. I did not even realize that I'm speaking to him. He's in the hospital. We're talking, and first of all, he never told because he didn't know he had COVID. So I guess he had asthma as a kid, and the doctors just thought that the asthma came back. So he's in the hospital. He's in a hospital where, by the way, no one that came to that hospital with COVID left alive.
Wow.
He was the first person to leave that hospital alive, and he was on a respirator for 7-8 days. And this is like, I'm talking about, this is in March, when if you're on a respirator for 7-8 days, right? And because he had means, he was able to get access to medicine that regular folks weren't able to get. A bunch of stuff that they were that actually worked for him. But I'm literally on the phone with him when he's still talking about business, and we're like 3 minutes into the call and he can't breathe. And but in his mind he has asthma, right? And then he kind of goes off the radar for 2 weeks, and I speak to him 3 weeks later, and he says, "Yo, man, your man almost passed away." Like he's like, "I thought it was over." And by the way, it's not like your family could be there to say goodbye. You're literally
That's
on,
right.
you're on the phone on, FaceTime with your children, telling them goodbye, right?
Yes.
So just imagine what a guy like that does when he comes home, right?
Mhm.
First of all, he's more mindful about spending more time. So what he did, right? He made his whole family sort of just come close, and they weren't
Yes.
able to go anywhere, and he created sort of his own bubble. He brought the people that he loved close to him. But just think about the fact that like I've never had it to date. Um, it's highly likely that I'll get it, right? Because what they're saying is that the large majority of people will get it. I don't know how my body will react. So like,
Yeah.
think that your mortality is in jeopardy. What? How do you want to spend your time? Right? And I think that it's actually made me live a lot more. Right? I'm living in a way that I'm proud of, as opposed to procrastinating because I think that I'm going to be here forever. Because I think
Sure.
that's what young people do, right? You just feel
Yeah.
like you're just here, right? It's nothing could get me. I'm going to be here forever. Um, and now the combination of being on the other side of 50, and this COVID thing being out in the world, in the ethos. Yeah, man, I'm super mindful and intentional about how I spend my time, who I spend my time with, and just think about the people that you've been around, because you can't be around a lot of people, right? So
That's right.
you gotta be around people that you trust, that
Yeah.
they're not being irresponsible. You got to be around people that you care, that you love, because why waste time with people that you don't love? Like you don't have time for that. And so it also has made my relationships with everyone in my life stronger, because if someone told me I had 3 weeks to live, what would I do, right? That's kind of how I'm living my life, like
Yeah.
as if I know that the time is up at some point. um
Yes.
yeah, man, which I look at as a gift, quite honestly.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, Jamil, how do you feel about the vaccine? Excuse me.
The vaccine. So that's a great question, because I'm really not sure, quite honestly.
Yes.
So I'm not a huge proponent of vaccines generally, but that's an evolved point of view, because quite honestly, listen, I was born in 1968. I probably took every vaccine. I don't even know, right? I was a kid. My mom was 18 years old. I probably took everything that they had, and I'm
Mhm.
still here, right? And then I know that my kids, were all vaccinated. Whatever the vaccines that you have to go to school. They've all had those things, and some of my kids have had some negative reaction to those things. One of my actually my one son, my youngest son, had febrile seizures, which is when your body gets so hot it shuts down. And the other one had absence seizures, which means absence epilepsy. I'm sorry, which means that you will outgrow it over time. Like so, but he's had epileptic fits where it could be because it could be a reaction of the vaccines that he took as a kid. Um, so I think I think the challenge is the not knowing, right? Because no matter how much you research, you really don't know how your body's going to react to those things. Um, so I'm afraid of it for my children, especially knowing
Yes.
especially knowing that they had it, and their reaction to it was not that severe. I will say that although I say that, we still don't know, because there could be things that happen after the fact, right? Now you're hearing a lot more information around, um, you know, and it's funny because my one son, who all my kids play basketball, my one son said that he still gets like tightness in his chest from time to time, right?
Yeah.
So the young brother that passed out during the basketball game a couple weeks ago, and then they found out that he had COVID. So
Right.
so yeah, I'm going to be honest about the fact that I really don't know. I want to do as much research as possible and make every decision as informed as possible. I know some really smart people who are planning on taking the vaccine. So that's assuring. I'm not a conspiracy theorist in terms of thinking that, you know, they're trying to trick us with the vaccine. But also we know that, you know, typically it takes, you know, X amount of time to come up with
Sure.
these. And this thing was kind of rushed, and
Yeah.
and you know that there is a extreme desire for people to go back to life as we know it. And so,
Right. Exactly. I mean, we have to look at the options we have. Either we go on with masks and in fear of the unknown, or we believe in something. And it goes back to, that phrase, well, you need to believe in something, if so I think that, and I feel the same way. We don't have enough reason, we don't have enough time, because with time you can heal and you can find out all your answers, most of them. But we don't have enough time. We have enough people, we have enough testing population, we have enough, but we just don't have enough data as it resembles in time. So I think that's
I'll say this much about the vaccine though. If you told me like every household had that, you know, in order for us to go back to life, someone in every household had to take it, I would take it so my kids didn't have to take it, right? But again, I'm not informed enough to know that if I'm not giving it to my kids, am I depriving them of something that may keep them safer? You know,
right.
my knee-jerk reaction is to do whatever it takes to keep my kids as safe as possible.
Yes.
My fear is I don't know what that means, right? For
Yes.
the first time,
That's
right?
it.
So like, like as a parent, like, you don't want your kids drinking alcohol. You don't want your kids playing in the street. You don't want your kids, like, I don't want my kids playing football. How about that? Like, right. But I don't know if taking the vaccine is is worse for them than not taking it.
Mhm.
That's the unknowing is the fear. That's what provides the fear. Um,
Yeah.
so I wanna be smart. Like I said, I know some really smart people. I know a bunch of people in the medical profession who have all taken it and they swear by it. Um, I'm not sure, man. I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Well,
interesting if they tell me that my kids can't go to school if they don't have it. Then what do you
yeah,
do? Now, I
that's
was
right.
normal, right? This thing that we're doing right now is amazing. Like I have connected and reconnected with more people over the last 9 months than I would have ever seen if there was no COVID, right? I would I mean I've been on Zoom calls, especially like early on. I've been in Zoom calls with the guys I went to college with, guys I went to high school with. The fact that I can work from home now, I
Yeah.
can live anywhere. Um, so the way that we communicate through video conferencing has absolutely disrupted culture in a phenomenal way. And so and I only bring it up is to say is that if they say your kids can't go to school if you don't take the vaccine, you can always have your kids go to school virtual, which I
That's
don't
yeah.
has not been a great experience for me. My kids, I think they need to be like in the school with the teacher, getting the attention. It's very easy for kids to get distracted.
Sure.
You
A
imagine
whole big communication component, and that attaches itself to the intellectual
yeah,
piece.
yeah. And
So
I think this year is going to be really challenging for kids because I
yes.
don't know that kids have absorbed enough of the information as they would have had it been a normal school year. I know even like because I've been doing. I know one thing. I've been doing way more homework than I've ever done before. I probably more homework with my kids over the last 9 months than I did myself when I was in school.
I bet. Yeah.
But what I do, what I learned, what I've recognized with my children is that they know it while you're doing it, but as soon as you stop doing it and then you go back to it, it's almost like learning it all over again. So there's something not working around. The virtual learning thing is not really, probably working the way because I don't think anyone even knows how to do it properly, right? It's not something that we're all learning as we go along.
Absolutely. The proper conditioning is not being taken place because, conditioning requires consistency and, it's inconsistent. If you're virtual, then you're physical. and your physical and your it just, you don't get that conditioning that your mind, to stimulate your mind in a consistent way. Jameel, I'm going to go ahead and close out, but any takeaways that you can give the people concerning COVID and how to conduct themselves? I know you spoke about, well, just to remind what we talked about, I know you said it's a very soulful time where you can kind of get introspective and connect with yourself or a higher power, and kind of, give yourself more of a purpose. But anything else that, quick takeaways we can give the people?
Listen, I think that there's a couple of, there's some things just generally that have sort of come to light as a result. And I think that, you got a lot of people who will talk about how horrible 2020 was. It was the worst year of our lives, and I can't wait until this is over. And the reality is, like, this is like everything else in life, right? When there's darkness, you can't have the light without darkness, right? And so I think that you kind of gotta embrace even the negativity around it, because it's meant to inform something positive. And if you don't take time, and I've been saying this a lot, quite honestly, if 2020 and COVID was the worst thing that ever happened to our lives, but we're sitting here talking to one another, healthy, and with all the possibilities available to us in the world, then shouldn't we at least recognize how blessed we are? Like, what a blessing. You actually, experienced COVID and are sitting there looking as healthy as you could be. So,
Yes.
so you are super blessed, right? And yes, absolutely, lives were lost. It's been painful. But that's kind of the price that comes with, the blessings. We don't always understand it, right? Like, God has a plan, God has a will, and it's really not for us to question it. It's just for us to try to live in it, extract from it as much as we can. And so, I want to challenge people to be at least a little bit open-minded about the fact that, my father-in-law, on Christmas, like, he was just depressed, like full on depressed. And he's probably 60, late 60s, 67, 68 years old. He's lost a bunch of friends to COVID. I think the political climate, had him, because he's from the civil rights era, right? So this feels very similar to him. And he was just distraught, and he was talking about all the things that he lost, and the things that he didn't have, and the things that he wasn't able to experience. And as he was talking, I had to be mindful of the fact that you have all the right in the world to feel that way. I'm not even trying to tell you not to feel that way, but the fact that you're still here having the conversation with me, your glass is absolutely half full, right?
That's right.
And I think that if you're a spiritual being, not being mindful of the fact that your glass is half full, it is almost disrespectful, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's disrespectful.
Right. Excellent.
Got to be honest about the fact that, man, we still here, brother. So, like, as long as if every day you wake up with breath in your lungs, it's a gift.
And it's another day, brother, to make it right. So, Jameel, I'm so glad that you came on today. Thank you very much for all the information. Again, this is a very intellectual brother right here, and thank you so much for sharing with the people. All the best to you and your family. It sounds like everybody's back on board and healthy back in the household, which is super fantastic. You're doing a fantastic job with your family, doing a super fantastic job with your career, and wedging away from that you were accustomed to for over 20 years, working with another company, and then segueing off and doing your own independent thing was fantastic. And also to realize the blessing of where you were, because you could easily kind of market yourself back. You're not into marketing yourself, but you could have marketed yourself back and going back into that which you're accustomed. But you decided to stay focused, stay on it, and you become a stronger person because of it. And I know that COVID, having entered your household and exited it, has fortified you with even more of a drive. So I want to wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming on the Tommy Williams Show, and you take care of yourself, man, and stay safe.
Thanks for having me, brother. And it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Thank you, man. Well, thank you very much, folks, for joining in the Tommy Williams Show, episode number 7. Just to recap, we had Kai come on. Kai was in Brooklyn. He shared his experience with COVID, and he spoke about his job. Actually, he experienced a RIF, which was a reduction in force. With his first job was sanitation. He entered another job, which he's still at now, thank goodness, delivering produce, and he's there in Brooklyn. He also had shared the link for the masks, for Kai and his wife. His wife in particular, she's the one who manufactures the masks. They're definitely suitable masks. They work. You know, I put them to the test. I passed them out to my family. They've been going out and selling like hotcakes. You actually have the link. He also shared them within the with the time frame that we had our conversation. Just a reminder, his email is KIPOWELL0224@gmail.com. And so Kai was on, and it was very informative. I hope you enjoyed that segment. And then we had Jameel on, Jameel Spencer. He was on. He was a very enlightening and intellectual fella as well. And he shared with us the fact that he has 6 kids, and in his family, and married, and in his family, COVID came in, and there was a big setback and a big introduction of COVID amongst that population within the household. He also shared the fact that, you know, everybody's safe now, thank God. And, you know, moving forward or experiencing COVID has opened his eyes. He used to be working with others within their companies. And now he decided back in 2018 to get his own business started. And he's been very successful. But going into COVID, there were some concerns he had. But then he had reshaped and identified a market of people at home and realized that in that market and in that population would come the numbers and the target group for his business to again flourish. So congratulations to Jameel. Thank you very much for everybody for watching. And maybe you can be the next guest on the Tommy Williams Show. So please keep in mind, actually, I said earlier I want to give my email information, and you can feel free to email at trainwithtommy. That's trainwithtommy, TRAIN with Tommy @gmail.com. And if you're interested in coming on the show, by all means, reach out. I also mentioned the fact that my sister's having a show coming at the end of the month, the Wendy Williams Show. It's the movie, and that movie is going to be brought in with a watch party. So I'm hosting a watch party, and the watch party is going to be with the Williams family, and you can catch us at Tommy Williams. If you YouTube Tommy Williams and look for the pink tee, you could find me and actually subscribe and hit the bell. And when the party begins on the 30th, you'll be part of it. So grab a snack and you can sit on back and watch the Wendy Williams movie on Lifetime Movie Network. Thank you so much for Lux Media to give me this platform. And it's a great relationship that we have. You all can look forward to these shows for another year. So we have a big relationship ahead of us. And thank you so much for Lux Media for giving me this platform again. I'm your host, Tommy Williams. And this is episode number 7. Look forward to having you either on our next episode or having you back in our audience. So thank you very much, and you take care and stay masked up, and God bless. Make it a great night.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, powerful liver support, energy, helps blood sugar regulation, superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.